Thank you so much for being here. My name is Monica. Welcome to Guru Grit. This is a place for learning. And thank you so much for all of your wonderful questions. I try to get through as many of the comments as I can on the TikTok videos and on the comments on here when I have the wherewithal to actually check them. So thank you so much. And this topic has come in from my newest patron, so big thank you to her. And the more detailed version of this is on the Patreon. So this one's going to be for YouTube, and because so many people were asking for more detail, I've gone ahead as per requested, or rather I should say instructed, and made it. So thank you once again, and just remember, every time you ask a question, we're all in this together. So the teacher and the taught create the teaching, which means that you teach me as much as I teach you, okay? And you will always get more than you give when you're in a work of service. So this is a wonderful opportunity for us to come together and figure out a little bit more about life as best we can and just get through it. So divorce. Let's get into the topic of divorce with my high-tech skills here. You see what I've done? So impressive. So houses of importance. What are the important places that we look to? So the seventh. Seventh is the house that rules pair bonding, okay? Where we come together to form this tertiary entity, this third entity known as a marriage. This is why if the house itself isn't doing well, you can see the decline of the bond. The sixth and the second houses, I've already mentioned in the TikTok video. Okay, 2 and 6. But the question is why? Why are these houses the houses of divorce? Well, this is where we look to the 12th. The 12th house is the house that rules loss. Okay, you lose energy there. This is the house of sleep. This is the house where we take a nap, okay? We rest a little bit. So the house of loss. So you count inclusively in astrology. So if you start from the 7th and you go from the 7th and you count 12, you will end up in the 6th. So the 6th house can break the 7th house. Okay, this is a principle in Vedic astrology known as Bhavat Bhavam. Okay, Bhava is house. So we're knowing that by these aspects of the house from one house to the next, something can indicate what's going on in that place. Now, the 8th house is the house where accidents happen. This is where things break, okay? Decomposing bodies, rot, decay, decline, but generally, breaking, okay? Accidents are seen there. It's also the house that can show long lifespan, but I'll do that another time. So if you take the 7th house, if you go the 8th from the 7th house, you're going to end up in the 2nd house. Because the 7th, if you count 7, is going to be the first, your ascendant. One more is the 2nd. That's 8. So the 8th from the 7th is the 2nd. The 12th from the 7th is the 6th. So 2 and 6. Okay? But always start with the 7th. So this presentation is heavy on the 7th house and things that can influence it and how we're going to move these energies. And so I'll show you. First example is a very strong example. It's probably the best one I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen quite a few. Jennifer Aniston, okay? Jennifer, you can't probably see her name because my face is covering it, but she's here. Jennifer Aniston, okay? So her seventh has 2 malefics. We have Saturn and the North Node, Rahu. Saturn is debilitated. He's in a strong house, but he's not doing so well. The thing that we have to look for is the 7th house, the 7th Lord, and Venus. Because even if Venus is not 7th Lord, even if you're a heterosexual woman, and this is important because Venus is the wife for the man, Venus is the general signifier of the condition of one's marriage, okay? I'm trying not to sneeze, excuse me. So we have a pretty rough looking start because the 7th has 2 malefics and our poor Venus is also debilitated and she's harshly hemmed, okay? She's harshly hemmed. I've put harshly hemmed here. She's harshly hemmed by these 2. And this is significant because she's not able to, it's maybe somebody who doesn't really know their value very much. And Venus rules your ability to make decisions. Okay, so if you don't make good decisions, You're going to learn a lesson. Okay, so we have two signifiers of karma here as well. So one thing I want to point out though is Saturn is necessary for doing anything big and long-standing, and the North Node can explode a person's fame. So North Node in the 7th house and the 10th house is generally very good. I think Tom Cruise also has this in the 10th house. So very, very good for being loved by the masses. But you can tell that she's also had some shameful experiences through her divorces. And one of those things the media always speaks about is like, it doesn't matter how much she achieves. It's always like, oh, are you single? That's kind of like how she's treated, you know. But see, for divorce, this is very, very telling. So 7th Lord sits in the 2nd house of divorce, okay? In his own sign. 7th Lord Mars, yes. Now, one thing I want to note is Jupiter that's retrograde will not cause a divorce, okay? That's not true. But when you see so much happening in a chart here, to see him retrograde, pretty much it's a closed case, okay? You pretty much go, oh gosh, so there's just very little relief. It's very little relief, so it's very, very telling. This is where it's going to lean. This is where it's going to go. Now, the importance of the 5th house. I put the importance of the 5th house here because for women, the 5th is very important. The 5th is very sentimental. It's very romantic. So I see the 5th involved a lot when marriage transits come up, even in solar return charts. I see this a lot. So 5th and 7th, okay? And here 5th has a debilitated malefic sun. And most importantly, the ruler of the 5th sits in the 7th and it's debilitated. So I mean, that doesn't mean you're going to get, you know, your marriage annulled and whatever, but on top of everything else, it's pretty extreme. It's a very extreme example. This is probably should have saved this to the very end, but I want you to get into the groove of applying the formula, okay? And this one just kind of ticks every box. All right, we're looking to the 7th. Malefics, check, debilitated, not doing so good. We're looking to the 7th Lord in the 2nd, and then we're looking to the health of the Venus, also not so good. Then we looked at a couple of additional factors just to give it a bit of flavor. Probably tastes very bitter. You know, it's very painful. She's probably too nice. She's probably too nice. Here we go. Katie Holmes. Katie Holmes, okay? 7th Lord Moon for Capricorn rising is going to be Cancer, occupies the 7th. 7th Lord Moon sits in the 8th house. So anytime you take the energy of the house of, you know, sacred union, duty to others, and put it in the house of breakage, which is the 8th, that's always possible. If you put, you know, in this case, if you had Sun in the 7th as a Capricorn rising, that could also be possible because you're taking the energy of the 8th and bringing that into your marriage. The other way around is also true, okay? If the moon went into Gemini, okay, or if Mercury went into Cancer, because you're taking the energy of 6 rules, you know, litigation and fighting for a cause. It's very competitive. It's your enemies. 7th house is also opponents because it's the farthest thing from you. So you're taking all of that fandango and bringing it into this sacred space, okay? So that's telling. 6th Lord is, you know, in the house of loss. And yeah, you know, it was just for her, you know, I remember it quite well because I was still growing up at that time, but I remember it very, very well, you know. It was just so much mystery surrounding the whole thing with her and Mr. Cruz. And it's interesting because anytime there's an exchange, the following is possible, okay? Sudden events. So this was like a whirlwind romance, mystery, scandal, and hidden knowledge, hidden money secrets, things like that. So you'll see this a lot. And like I use political people a lot, very vaguely, but you'll see that a lot for them as well. What they do for money or power, etc. But here with Tom Cruise and Scientology, everybody was a bit like, is she Scientologist? Isn't she? Did she join the church? Did she leave the church? Like, what's going on? Is he going to see his daughter? Is he not going to? Now we know the answers to all those things, but you see, there's a bit mysterious. And the 8th is also hidden knowledge. Okay, rules occultism. So it was a very secretive and private religion or belief to get into. And the planet that rules our morals and beliefs is also sat there with the seventh lord, and it's also the indicator of husband. So, and it's also retrograde. So there's just a lot of these little layered things going on. So we see all of that pretty much was very, very accurate for her. One other thing I wanted to mention, of course, we have to check the condition of our beauty here. What's the condition going to be like? Well, debilitated, okay? Debilitated, so we see that very evident. And I mean, and once you get into just looking at seventh, okay, it's empty. Lord, okay, and also for the moon, the eighth is the most challenging placement for the moon, the eighth house, okay? So moon is not doing so good, okay? But with, you know, with what it's his little compadre here, his friend, very, very happy. Okay, so actually a very good combination to have that. Excellent for wealth, so that's good. And then this here, yes, in the ascendant exalted. Excellent, very, very powerful, but can attract intense mate, very intense. Maybe even aggressive. And it's very important to note, if you remember, or if you haven't, you can go, I'm sure it's on YouTube somewhere, but people were, back in the day before there was like TikTok and Instagram, I think Instagram wasn't around, I'm not sure, but Tom Cruise was like on the Oprah Winfrey show, and he was like somersaulting and cartwheeling and doing jazz hands. He was so excited about like meeting this woman. So it could bring very much an intense person into your life because he's aspecting the house of marriage, okay? Another thing too, by aspect, is very important because he rules bickering. This is the planet that rules bickering. So people tend to fight over silly stuff, and then sometimes they go, we don't even know how it got this bad. Like it just started with like a dish sponge or windshield wiper, and now you're in divorce court splitting up Beanie Babies, okay? So it can get pretty bad. So I'll show you something really cool, but okay, Kaylee Cuoco. Kaylee Cuoco of Big Bang Theory, very smart woman, very, very business savvy woman, probably a really nice person. This is an interesting one, okay? Seventh house, we check here, okay? It's empty, so we go to see Mercury rules Virgo for Pisces ascendant, sitting in the 10th house. So first thing, the sign he's in is Sagittarius. He's debilitated. So we go bing, okay. Second, he's also combust. Okay, he's too close to the sun. Combustion occurs when a planet is within 6 degrees of the sun. So it's a bit harsh. Third, it's also with Saturn. So it's not doing so well. Fourth, he's retrograde. And this is where we really hit the nail in the coffin, okay? 6th and 7th lords conjunct together. Okay, so Sun and Mercury. So Sun occupies her 6th house, and Mercury occupies her 7th house, and Sun here is dominant. Sun does very well in Sagittarius. Mercury is clearly debilitated, very, 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 very weak, not doing so good. Now, I would say 50% of Pisces ascendants are going to have 5th and 6th lord conjunctions, and over 50% of them are probably not going to be divorced, but it just depends where the Sun sits, the condition of Mercury, any benefic. Like if Venus or Jupiter are aspecting the 7th house, it can help a lot because benefics offer protection, okay? They offer protection from that harshness. So it doesn't necessarily mean your marriage will break if you're Pisces ascendant, but I just had to make that known because like half the people in the world have Sun conjunct Mercury, probably 3/4 of the people in the world. So it's not like end all and be all if you're Pisces rising. But here's where it gets interesting. Venus is debilitated. Plus, she is conjunct the South Node, a malefic. Okay, South Node is what signifies separation. This is why it has a lot to do with mystical experiences and mysticism. It can show, you know, depending on where it's sitting, aspecting, etc., can make a very good astrologer. Okay, it has a lot to do with astronomy, math, codes, ciphers, things that you decipher, things that you unlock and make sense of. So it separates you. It separates you from the material. So with Venus, you know, it can separate you from your marriage. And it's actually, ironically, it's in the 9th house, which is the house of second marriages. So she's twice divorced. She was married to a tennis player first. After a 3-month, I think, whirlwind romance or something like that. They were engaged or married after 3 months, I believe. And then her second husband, Carl Cook, they recently, I think, applied for divorce. So I mean, very straightforward. Again, we check the 7th, we check the 7th Lord, okay, and then we checked Venus. So just keep that pattern going. Keep an eye out on the 6th and uh, uh, 6th and 2nd Lords as well. So interesting too is the 9th house of second marriage is ruled by Mars, and Mars sits in the 8th house of breakage, decay, rot, etc. He also rules the 2nd house, and he's debilitated. He's debilitated in the 8th house. So really, we wish everybody the best here. So my love goes out to her. Should she want to try again, I'm really asking, 3rd time's lucky charm. So just bless her. So it's wonderful. But I also want to point out that she's actually very fortunate. She's very fortunate in that it's a good chart for success, fame, and moon in Cancer, she in a very, very good house, very good to Pisces ascendants. Their moon placement is very important because moon is a good thing for a Pisces ascendant, and in this case it's in a very positive house. So she's probably very insightful. Like, she's probably, I mean, I don't know her, but I'm just saying she's probably able to just bounce back and just heal and gain wisdom. She will gain wisdom from these experiences and accumulate some. She's burning off karma, so she's going to accumulate some luck. Okay, so God bless. Tom Cruise, Mr. Cruise. Wow, let's start with the 7th house. 7th house, also the 1st house ruler in the 7th. And would you know it? Look at that. It's Mars. And I was mentioning Katie Holmes might have a penchant for attracting bickering men or, aggressive, intense. And he himself has that in the 7th, his 1st lord in the 7th, so he can be aggressive to other people, okay? It's just his personality in any case. So very, very interesting that we see that. So another thing, this is an example of 6th house example, okay? So 6th house is ruled by Aries, and Mars rules Aries. So we take the energy of the 6th house. Remember I was saying it's litigation, it's competition, it's your enemies, and he's twice divorced. He's married to, maybe 3 times actually. I know he was married to Nicole Kidman. He might have been married previously. But we're taking the energy of the 6th and bringing that into the 7th house. Okay? So, bada bing, bada boom. That's what I've got to say. Now, let's check our Venus, okay? Venus in Leo is not debilitated. She's not the strongest either, but it's nowhere close to debilitation. And she is in a weak house. She's weak in the 10th house, okay? Her house of strength is the 4th. And she is sitting with the North Node. So moon with the North Node, I want to mention, moon with the North Node can make a person wildly successful, extremely well known in their field, okay? If you have this in the 7th, brilliant, okay? If you have it in the 10th, brilliant. If you have it in the 1st, brilliant. You can be very, very well known for what you do. I don't care if you're a jewelry maker, cake decorator, teacher, writer, it doesn't matter, okay? Your time is 9. So excellent for him for fame, but look at it. The Venus is afflicted. So Venus rules the wife for the man, and with the North Node is like an illusory. It's like a fog. You can't see clearly. Your judgment is distorted. Okay, so here naturally, he might get really overexcited, really hyped up, or maybe choose a mate, not out of because he doesn't know any better, but maybe because it's not really the reasons why you would choose a mate, something like that, okay? So, and Venus is your decision-making ability, okay? So that's not doing so well. And then on top of that, Saturn casts a 7 aspect from wherever he sits. So he's pressing down on Venus, okay? So he's pushing on that, probably just giving him a bit of a rough time, really. I mean, if you can go back in time, which I don't think anybody wants to because they wouldn't learn anything, but maybe if he saw someone when he was 18 and they cast his chart and said, just wait till you're 35 or 40 and then get married, it would have gone very differently, but it doesn't matter. Here we are, it is what it is. And so do you see, again, we just look to the 7th. We see that this chart actually is populated like Jennifer Aniston's chart. It has a malefic in the 7th. I don't think that's enough to guarantee divorce, though it can signify. And then we see the 7th Lord is Venus, and she's also the wife, and she's also the signifier of the state of the marriage, okay? What's it going to be like? Is it decent? Da, da, da. And so here with the North Node, it's pretty erratic, okay? It's pretty hard to predict because highs and lows, up and down, okay? And then on top of that, we have retrograde Saturn aspecting Saturn with the South Node as well. Can make a person really spiritual or religiously profound, and he's very, very much into his belief system. So that could cause a schism between him and mates because it's aspecting his 7th lord plus marriage condition plus wife. So we can see that there could be some discord in that, okay? So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope I've been able to answer your questions through this. And yes, I'll keep moving on to other factors in life, okay? So infidelity, what can really break a marriage, okay? Like, so many things can happen, and I'm going to give examples in the next presentation that I do on relationships, which is so many things can happen, but they don't necessarily cause divorce. People get over it or people move on, okay? Keep it moving, only forward. Those are my favorite words. So we're going to cover that. We're going to cover a lot more. So in the new year, I'm also rolling out a course on houses. Really, really, really in depth, okay? So in depth, it's hurting my brain, and I do this every day to write it, so it should give you a little bit of vertigo going through it, but hopefully, you know, I'll make it a PDF. I'll have a PDF attached to it. It'll be, of course, video presentations, lots of examples, and you'll be able to search through it. So thank you so much to my patron Katie for requesting this topic. Patrons get to request topics, and the more detailed version is over there. Thank you for watching here. Thank you for being with me and learning with me. Stay tuned. I'll wrap up the Edgar Cayce book series and get into more relationship presentations next. Much love to you all. Bye.